Hello and good morning, good evening, wherever you have joined from. Thanks for joining in. I am here with a lovely friend of mine, Anne-Mieke, and I have been always calling her Anne. Recently, I known that there is another name to her. So, Anne, can you introduce yourself, just and also to me? How do I call you properly?
Oh, well, this happens a lot of times. My name is Dutch. I was born in the Netherlands, and it's correctly pronounced Anne-Mieke.
Anne-Mieke.
But yes, but
Nice.
in a lot of languages, this is complicated, and so I usually say, just call me Anne. It's fine.
It's
Yeah,
actually not in Indian because Anamika is a valid first name in India, which
I
is
know.
You know that, right? So it's very, very, very close to that. So it's easy for me actually, Anamika.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I really like it when people know how to say my full name. It's cool. Yeah.
Thank you. We
Yeah.
have been friends for some time, and this is the
Mhm.
first time I'm calling you correctly. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right.
Yeah. So you wanted me to introduce myself. Well,
Yeah, please.
um, well, like I said, born and raised in the Netherlands, I currently live in Germany. I'm an accessibility advocate and specialist. I mentor companies in making the digital experience that they create towards an audience
Hmm.
um, accessible. And
Hmm.
that means that people who also depend on assistive technology to access the information that you put out there, that they have access to it, but also people who are tired, have headaches, are having a bad day. It's actually making your presentation available to everybody. And another group is an often forgotten group is people who have ADHD, like me. I'm like a Duracell bunny on speed, someone said. Well, it's true. So people are easily distracted, for example, will jump off your website really fast if it's really hard to follow what's happening there or if there are too many moving elements. But then we're getting into everything, yeah. So an important thing to know is my background is that of a web designer and partially front end development. I started doing
Hmm.
that 26 years ago. And it wasn't until 2020, so only 4 years ago, that I discovered that I didn't know anything about accessibility. I had all the assumptions wrong. I knew that your heading order has to be okay, and that I had to add alt text, so alternative descriptions or
Right.
alternative text to images, and that was it. And then someone pointed it out on Twitter, and I was so shocked that I didn't know anything about this that I took a deep, deep, deep dive and decided to learn everything I could about this. And then I discovered something else. Making sites and apps accessible is not that hard. It can be complicated, but it's not hard. It's not hard to
Hmm.
learn. Um, and doing it right from scratch is easier than remediating, but it's not rocket science. Okay. But I also learned that a lot of people working in accessibility get a lot of opposition because people don't know what it means. It's scary. Designers are getting told, like, you're doing it wrong. Nobody wants to hear they're doing it wrong. So
Right.
I decided
Hmm.
to pick up a role where I mentor companies to an accessible experience and where I glue the teams together to work together. So a developer feels safe to tell the designer, hey, the design you gave me is really cool, but maybe you want to change this and this detail. It's about the tone in which you do this.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm, thanks for that. Before Miss, we jump like deep into what is accessibility and why should we care about it, I would definitely love to understand what kind of inspiration did you get as a person, or as a designer when you were developing, right? When we talk to a lot of such designers, developers, either they don't know about accessibility,
Mhm.
or even if they know, it seems like it's just too much work. means they feel like it, as you said, it's not
Mhm.
that much of work, but they feel it is too much of work to do it. So there has to be some motivation behind it, right? Apart from the legal thing which just came up.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what was your inspiration to which led you to like we should do accessible design or accessible websites?
I um I love challenges in any form, in anything I do. Um I was that kid that raced cars on the bike, you know.
Nice.
Um and what happened to me, because of course it came to me also from the standpoint of design, was like someone said to me, you can't create a beautiful accessible design. It's
Mm-hmm.
either beautiful or it's accessible. And I was like, I'm not buying that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not buying that. And I realized that there's a challenge. There's a fantastic challenge. There are accessible websites being made that win prizes for design.
Mm-hmm.
And if a designer gets stimulated in this point, like sometimes I get a bit sarcastic. I'm trying not to because I don't recognize sarcasm for the world of me, but someone told me it is. Where I will ask a designer, I understand your issue, but when are you going to get creative?
Mm.
And
That's
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 a little
that's
bit. Yeah.
provocative. It is.
Yep.
But
Yep.
someone had to do this to me as well. This is, and then I learned if you don't let color or design, graphic design go over function. Text is function. Um, Elements that do something are functional. If you make these accessible in your design, you can
Mm-hmm.
do a lot with colors and shapes. And I actually designed my own website. It's pretty minimalistic still because I like minimalistic style. But I put a lot of colors in my website. It's like a rainbow just on purpose. Purpose. It's provocative. It's just like, look, here's my site. It's a rainbow. It's full of color. Don't tell me I can't use color in an accessible design. So that was my challenge. And then something that also motivated me was when I discovered that it's not an all-in-one. I'm in the WordPress bubble. I mean, there's more out there than just WordPress, but WordPress is well known for giving their users possibility to quickly create a website without any experience or knowledge because they can use themes and page builders and so on. And this means, yeah, there's my website. This means that,
This is beautiful, by the way.
thank you.
Yeah, means whoever said that you cannot do design and accessibility, when are you going to do good design? I think they should see this.
Yeah, thank you. Well, as you can see, if you scroll down just a little, just if you go to the one about accessible design, for example, um,
Here or
no,
little
no,
bit,
in the main
little bit more
menu, but
in the
it's
main
okay.
menu. Okay.
Just go down. That's fine. If you go down all the way to the services, for example,
Mm-hmm.
there you can see that I used a colorful element next to the
Mm-hmm.
heading. And
Yep.
I know designers often get in trouble because they have someone over their head, be it a customer or be it their boss. And then there is this corporate design. And the corporate design, for example, is like light pink. So the
Right.
management or the customer says, I need those titles to be written in light pink.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you write light
What's
pink,
wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
the contrast is not strong enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I'm 53 and I'm learning this now by
No,
experience.
you are not.
Yes, I am. I am. Thank you. Um, and light text on light background, even for me, is incredibly difficult to read. And so, if your color contrasts are not fit enough or too strong, that's another thing. But if they're not strong enough, this is like a, a bad smell in a store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's like you go to this store and it's not nice in there, and you have to wait in the line, and your brain starts thinking, maybe I can buy this somewhere else. Maybe I can leave. But you're not really conscious of what's happening.
But
And
then, I'm sorry to interrupt you. But then, when we do a light pink
mhm,
color for the heading or whatever, right?
mhm.
For you, the contrast is not that like, but the designer who's developing it, the person sees it properly. Their customers, most of them sees it properly. How do they know, or why is contrast important for some people? Because is it just like you are not able to see it properly, or some people actually don't see it completely? Is what is
Some
the main
people
point
don't
here?
see it completely, like people who have diabetes, who have glaucoma, who or who lost their glasses. If I take off my glasses, I can't read the headings on my own site. But if they would be light pink, I wouldn't be able to read them for the life of me. And the number of people that have impaired vision is incredibly high, and
Right.
there is a very big group between those who are called legally blind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And legally blind doesn't necessarily mean someone only sees black.
Mm-hmm.
Legally
Okay.
blind just means you, even if you have the strongest glasses on, you still can't see something right. Some people see things through a hole,
Mm-hmm.
like or only from the corner of their eye, or um and but to get back, for a designer, or a manager who needs to learn like why this is important, there are
Right.
tools in your browser, they're built in, where you can actually emulate what it
Can you
looks like.
show me that? How do I do that? Can we do that right away, or does it require like special tools or something?
Let me quickly check, because right now I am. Hey, where's my mouse?
Is that a Chrome extension which we are talking about?
It's not an extension. It's actually in. Can you still see me? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. It's actually inside the browser. Um, if you go to, are you in Chrome?
Yep. I can share my screen and you can maybe probably guide it.
Yes, just a minute. Because I use external tools, so this is why why in the
But
browser I always have to search. But I'd
so
like to show it in the browser. I created a video about that, how you do that. Hang
that's fine.
on.
Even if we do it later, right?
We do
Means
it later. I will
yeah.
find it in the meantime. So keep asking me questions and I'll go find
All
it,
right.
instead of giving my external tool, because it means others can see how this goes.
Okay. So first question, you kind of answered that already. Is that why should I care about accessibility? You said there are people who are legally blind or have some kind of special ability, not able to comprehend what you can, like a low contrast or whatever, right?
Mhm,
They're special able person, but let's say those kind of audience, right? Means I'm just speaking from a business standpoint. Those people are maybe less than 5% of my audience. So is there any other reason I should be thinking about, apart from the humanity aspect of it, right? We should do something which is accessible to everybody, right? That's good human being, all of that. But when it
mhm.
comes to business, people take different kind of decisions, right? They don't think about that, doesn't come to the mind right away. So is there any other reason we should think about accessibility?
First of all, the assumption is the mother of all problems in the world,
Hmm.
right? It's 15 to 25% of the world population.
Okay.
Now,
That's huge.
let me turn it around. I have a use case on my website. It's stated on the homepage, about a supermarket in the UK. 20 years ago, they realized they would have to create an accessible experience.
Hmm.
Instead of creating this accessible experience for everybody, it was mainly focused on people with visual impairments. And it's very important because at a later point, when we speak, I would like to also shed a light on other um, issues that people can have, because being blind, visually impaired, or what I call the usual suspect, with in full respect, I don't mean it in disrespect, but there are large groups that are overlooked where it comes to
Mm-hmm.
accessibility. People with autism,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I said, people with ADHD,
Yeah, like.
like it's that those groups are massively overlooked. Now,
Mm-hmm.
in this business case, this is more than 20 years ago. They did something right and they did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
What they did wrong was they created two web shops. The second web shop was the accessible one, where they invested £35,000. What it gave
Mm-hmm.
them was 13 million additional revenue per year.
Because of converting their designs to more accessible.
Yes, and the technique, you can order on their website by keyboard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
So just a moment. So you're saying that a lot of people cannot really operate mouse
there are
completely?
many people who could not operate a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
And especially people who are a little older.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up with the mouse, and
Right.
and
Right.
and for us it's like
It's
very
normal for us.
easy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there is still an incredibly large generation that is not comfortable with the mouse. And when you get older or you're tired, people start getting tremors and stuff. If you have a tremor like this, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot operate a mouse.
Mm, mm. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Yep, yep. I think for
It's
them, is keyboard is the most easiest
yeah.
way to operate, and that you basically the business opened up uh, their own business to more people by just converting that design to keyboard
Mhm.
friendly, or however friendly or accessible, right? So that you are opening up your business to more people. Is that what you're saying? And
Yeah.
that's not just 5%. That's more than 15-20%.
Of course it is. And accessibility and a great user experience go hand in hand, because if I quickly jump back to what are the legal requirements, if you only do the legal requirements, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean you are providing people with a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Actually, to go back to designers who are worried that they might do something wrong, who are then choosing colors and color combinations that are really boring because they worry about that.
Right.
They create a visual user experience that is not nice for people who do not depend on accessibility.
Mhm,
And we have to cater to both. And another thing is, for example, people tend to assume mobile, for example.
mhm,
Yeah, only young people visit my website because the majority of visitors is using a mobile, a smartphone.
right.
It can be measured. Assistive technology cannot be measured. This is something very important to understand. But mobile visitors can be measured. And then I'm like, man, do you hear yourself speaking? My mother is 77. She's great on an iPhone.
Mhm.
Most older people I know are great.
Actually, they are, yeah, mobile is a godsend for a lot of older people, 100%.
It is, and it also smartphones have made the internet available to
Yep.
people who don't even own a laptop.
Mhm, mhm.
And
It's easier
assuming
to own a mobile, right, rather than a
it
laptop.
is,
100%. Yeah.
and it is cheaper. And not so long ago, I even heard that I don't remember which country. There's a big country in Asia. I think it was China. You can get an Android smartphone for $60,
Yep. Yep.
and it
Same in
works.
India. Mhm.
It works fine. It works fine. It does its thing.
Yep.
So again, this is where assumption is the mother of all problems.
Right.
It's
So
the
let's say,
original. Yeah.
there is, means we have established the fact that there is a human requirement, there is a business requirement. So, what are the legal requirements right now, which is happening in the Europe and also other parts of the world,
Also in
and
India.
also in India? So, what happens if we don't do it, and what is the deadline for it?
I don't know about the legislation in India, but I do know for Europe it is June 28th next year.
2025, with Alice, right?
Yes, next year. Now we're in March.
So that is applicable to even, let's say, an Indian business serving to European customers. Is
Mhm.
that
Yes,
applicable to them as well?
yes, because
Okay.
it's not about where you're located, it's about where your customers are located. And it's very important to understand also for hosting companies, for example, you
Hmm.
cannot know if your customer is a business or a private person
Yeah, because that's
until
like, hmm,
until this person buys some service from you and you say, okay, give me your VAT number.
hmm,
But if someone is a private person and doesn't give you the VAT number, he or she or they can still buy your service. It means you are delivering something to from business to consumer.
hmm,
And if you have more than 10 people working for you or you make more than 2 million revenue, you have to be sure that where the visitors can operate your site with all
hmm,
possible assistive technologies and by keyboard. And if you don't do it and someone sends you a complaint and say, hey, dear Mr. Vikas, I cannot operate your website, I cannot check out by keyboard, can you please fix this?
hmm,
And you
hmm.
don't do it, they can report you to the authorities.
So
And
okay, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
And I don't know much about how this is going to pan out literally, but it's going to cause a lot of how do you say unease and problems. And
Hmm.
why would people wait for that? You know, coming from fear is not a good thing.
No, no, but it poses an opportunity, right? To
It
because
does.
our where there is challenges, there is opportunity, as you said in the beginning. So a lot of our visitors are freelancers, agencies, designers, developers. So if they are catering to businesses in Europe, in US, I think like privacy, accessibility is going to be very means it will be enforced very soon.
Yeah.
What will be the top three or top five legal solutions which we can implement? Obviously, because it needs a bigger discussion, or maybe they need to go through the document. But in your view, what are the top three or top five people can implement on their website or their client's website to make them somewhat accessible, and then they go and read more, right, about it? So, what is your top thing?
Okay, so what you're speaking about is one of my favorite things to do and say is progress over perfection,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Going step by step. And there are steps that you can already take today.
Mm-hmm,
Um, One of the first steps you can take is to make sure that your your font sizes are working so that they are. I think the bare minimum is not as good as what I usually recommend. So in most browsers, the base font is the equivalent of 16 pixels.
mm-hmm,
And here we are. If you are using px as a value, you take away the possibility for users to magnify what they're reading. And the magnification that assistive technology uses is not the same as you hitting Control plus
mm-hmm.
to make it
So,
bigger.
to make it
So
like more concrete, means is, let's say this is a website, and right now these are, if these are in pixel, that is a problem.
I am trying to get back to our screen because I'm not sure if you are showing me
Sorry about
something
that.
now. No, it's
Yeah,
okay. This is not on you. This is me.
take your time.
This is Anne having 29 screens open and not knowing where the music is coming from. Typical. Okay, so we're back here.
Yeah.
I opened up the tool in Firefox that people can use to emulate
Oh, okay.
several visual
I was actually sharing my
cartoons.
screen just
I
to.
see it.
Yeah, are you able to see it?
Hmm.
Okay. Somehow it is just like too wide and not the height is low. Let me try to share it again. Share screen. Just wanted to get like proper examples. I think the reason I know why is what is the
Yeah.
reason behind it. So let me try to share my screen again. Sorry about that.
Now,
The reason.
speaking about accessibility, for example,
Mhm.
in the meantime, in your video here, you have this animation,
Which video? Okay, right.
and
The
this is one of the reasons also for me to move away from seeing you and seeing that screen because it is
just too
distracting
many
me.
things going up.
It
Okay.
gives me it makes me seasick.
Okay, let's take an example of that. Means let's say animation is a requirement from the business. So
Mhm.
what is the accessible way to do that? Means is there like the animation should move a little bit slower? Is the
Animations, if the rule usually is if they don't last longer than 5 seconds,
Mhm,
then you're in a good range. But of course, if you have animations 5 seconds here and here and here and here and here at the same time, you
mhm.
are creating a horrible user experience.
Okay, so it's
This is not this.
constantly happening again and
It is
again.
constantly happening.
Okay.
And then there is CSS. It's um, oh, I forget the word. I've been speaking German all day yesterday. Now my English is like it's called reduced motion.
Mhm,
And if you set reduced motion, uh, then people who set this on their computer,
mhm.
on their system, your site will not display the animations. But if you know that it's a CSS class, it's a pseudo class, you can actually say, okay, I want this animation not to go.
Okay. So
I
that is
want it
like
to
defined by
be,
my accessibility parameter, and I can control that on
yes,
the website which
yes,
I'm visiting. So
yes.
so you are basically opening up your website to be customizable, to be more accessible to people who don't respond well to animations, right? So you're just
Well,
basically
it's not, yeah, but it's your visitor is not customizing the site that he or she's visiting.
okay.
It is you who put this in the code that says if the the browser settings or the settings of the computer of the person visiting this website is set to respect reduced motion settings,
Hmm.
and you
Something
have
like a do not track in the privacy world, right? Doing something like that.
exactly. Oh, that's a very.
Okay.
I'm going to steal that one from you. That's a
Please
really,
do.
really good comparison. Thank you, Vikas. Yes,
So just mark it and then it automatically, I
yes,
think that's a great example. Another thing
yes.
which you said was about pixels. So just wanted to like basically make that like reality. So I'm going to edit the site. I hope you are able to see my editor
I
on
do.
WordPress.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make some kind of changes to the site and tell me whether this is an accessible way to do it. So I'm going to add a paragraph here saying this is a new paragraph for the webinar, and I'm going to make it align center. And
Mm.
I'm going is that already a problem? No, not really.
Go. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I
Okay.
will.
So I'm just trying to go to the block section and I'm going to mark the typography font size as maybe let's say 16 pixel, as you said earlier. So
Now
this is
it's
16
pixels.
pixel. Yeah, it is
Now
now.
it's
It is
pixels.
pixel. I want to create the problem which you wanted to explain, right? And also make sure. So let's say this is the paragraph, and now if I do control plus plus, this is increasing. The zoom is
Yes, in
increasing.
control. If this, but this is the zoom that you
Hmm.
see
Hmm.
when you do control plus plus.
Okay.
But if someone with assistive technology wants to zoom,
Hmm.
it is doing that in a different way. And what happens is that then if you made pixels, the text in the
Hmm.
top, I am pointing my mouse, which you can't see, of course, the text in the top, if the text in the top are done properly in RAM or M, okay,
Mm-hmm.
they are going to enlarge the way they need it.
Okay.
But the paragraph that you just made in pixels is going to stay like this.
Hmm. So it's better to use
It's
RAM.
it's not elastic. That's what I
Okay.
usually say. It's not elastic. And I'm very happy that you are showing this with one RAM. Yeah.
Two RAM and one. What is one RAM? That is
Well,
like
RAM is the root, referring to the root, to the base
okay,
font
and the
size.
root can be anything, right? It can be 20 pixel or it can be
Can be,
depending
yes,
upon their screen,
yes,
right? How they've
yes.
already configured it.
The browser settings usually are 16 pixels, the
Oh.
equivalent of. If
Okay.
you, of course, if you set this to be different, hard coded in your website,
Mm-hmm.
then the RAM value is going to show you something else. But normally, one RAM is 16, the equivalent of 16 pixels. And I know there are developers who find this confusing, and they have this formula where they set the base font to a certain size. So one RAM is the equivalent of 1 pixel or 10 pixels or whatever. I have dyscalculia, so I'm not the right person to ask for calculations, but this is how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so basically, just to keep things very simple, because I'm sure there's an audience here also who is not developing,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's about the text being elastic or not being elastic. Now, there's another thing. You chose to make this centered, right?
Mm-hmm.
Center text is cool for a lot of people.
Right.
But if you create lots of text, so this is not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of text, but if you create lots of text and it's all
Mm-hmm.
centered, it's very difficult with people with dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming hard to read.
So if we had something like this, and then everything is centered around it, it's difficult for them to read
It's
if it is all
difficult for
centered.
them to read because of the shape of the whole text. Someone with dyslexia explained it to me like that. I have another form of dyslexia, but for me, center text is also difficult. But now, please enlarge your screen with Command plus plus. Do that up to 400%.
Mm-hmm.
Now go down. Okay. So in this case, it looks okay, but in some cases, it's going to look like this. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on the length of the
Yeah, and I've
sentence
just
there.
copy pasted the same thing, so
You
maybe
copy pasted the
yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
All right. And so you also spoke about, so that's one, right? So use
Hmm.
RAM instead of
Yeah.
pixels, which is the fixed sizes.
Hmm.
And what is the other thing which is closer to your heart?
Um, Make sure it's keyboard accessible. And this means you go over your website by keyboard.
Okay.
So can you go to does it have a menu?
I think this is just like in one single navigation, or we can
Okay,
just
well, just
go
open
to
like
your
me.
website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, put your cursor in the browse in the top. Now, where the link is in the top, the bar.
So I'm using my
Yeah,
keyboard to like
great.
press.
Yeah, yeah. Now go back one more with Shift Tab.
Okay, one more. Okay.
One more.
Yep. So
Shift
I'm on
Tab
the
one more
logo.
time.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
So
Oh, I
we.
see a nice thing I forgot. That what you see there is in German.
Yeah, yeah,
I have to
yeah.
fix that. Menu
Multilingual is
überspringen. It
also.
means a skip link.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So
This
if
is
I
very
if I
important.
press enter now, what happens?
If you press enter, you would not, the next focus would not go to the logo, but it takes you to the content. Now, this is very important because
Mm-hmm.
every time someone who navigates by keyboard only, when this person comes on a new page, they're
Mm-hmm.
brought back to the top.
Mm.
And then if they want to go through to the page down, they have to tap through that menu over and over and over and over again.
Oh, nice.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's not so bad
Very
if your
interesting.
menu has 2 or 3 items, but if you have a mega menu, you are
Yeah.
actually creating what I call the IKEA experience. You
Yeah,
know,
you have to go
I
through
know.
the
I checked. You
entire.
have IKEA in India too. I saw it. You know, and you have to go through all the lines to get somewhere.
Mhm. Yep. So I think so every time I visit, let's say I go to about page, and then I can just press tab and hit
Yes,
enter, and then I just skip everything right in the
you
top
can go
menu,
down here. Yes.
and I can just browse
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
website just
Now,
by. Mhm.
yeah, what happens here is what is important is that a link or a menu item, for example, is a focusable element.
Mhm.
And those should be very visible. So when you press the tab, it's there. Also, if it has not been coded in,
Mhm.
um, and there's no code in the site that explicitly tells it to hide it, the browser actually will show you as lines around a focusable element. And then there are designers, I see them in all the design forums that say, how can I get rid of the ugly blue lines?
So that's the outline. CSS, I think in CSS it's called as
It's the
outline.
outline,
And some
exactly.
of the designers, they when they start a new project, they will say outline, body outline, and then
And they
go
will just
show none.
hide it. Well,
Yeah,
with that,
remove it.
you
Yeah.
make your site instantly inaccessible to many, many, many people. What designers should know, or developers, or if the designer doesn't know it, he can tell the developer about it now, where he says,
Hmm.
listen, you can, with the pseudo class focus, you can style that,
Hmm. Yep. Yep. You can
which
use
is what I
like
did
your
in my
colors.
website.
Yes. So it is like a more like a pinkish color with a
I
dotted
made it dark
outline.
pink, and I wanted the dots around it. And if you go on, you will also see that my social media icons also have a focus styling.
Hmm.
See?
Hmm. Yep. It is very clear. Hmm.
And therefore, designers, they just have to remember that whatever they use to style the outlines is having the right contrast.
Hmm.
So don't
Right.
style it with the yellow background and white text, because then the contrast is not so good. Now, for people who are getting started in this, or want to check, hey, is it accessible for me, who are very visual?
Hmm.
I usually share a tool called ColorShark.
Okay.
I mean, every
Is.
browser inspector can tell you about contrast, but ColorShark, ColorShark.io, I
Hmm.
just love it for the visual aspect of it. Okay, so on the right you can say the text color
Hmm.
and the background color. Now,
Right.
if you can use these controls here to make it lighter or darker.
So
Here
if
in
I.
ColorSpark,
Okay.
you see what happens on the left,
So the background is that automatically chosen? Okay, so this is what the suggestion is, right?
and
Brighten
then
your
it will
background.
suggest, yeah, and then below you can check it. So if you are a visual person, if you are not a
Hmm.
designer by default, I know this happens in a lot of companies. Like they ask someone in the company, hey, can you build us a website, because it's possible in a page builder or using a theme.
Right,
This is a great way to visually check if your color palette.
right. And I think Figma and WordPress nowadays also show you
They
some
do
of
it,
these.
but in WordPress, sometimes, like when you add in a cover block, for example.
Okay, let's add that. So cover block,
Yeah,
and then
choose an image,
choose an. So
just an image.
I think I have to upload an image, maybe my own.
Yeah,
That,
cool.
yeah. All right. So
Okay,
this
now you're
says,
going
right,
to
this
write
color
yes,
combination may
and
be
the
hard.
text is white. Just write something.
Yeah.
And now it says this color combination may be hard for people to read. And you're like,
Mhm.
what do you mean, man? The contrast is really great. This is
Yeah.
because it checks what happens in the background color. And what is
Mm.
incredibly important for everybody to understand is images do not always load.
Mm.
No, now you're changing the background of the text. But what you can do, if the image behind this text provides enough of a contrast towards
Right.
the
So
text,
that is not taken into consideration while showing. Yeah.
you when you open up the cover block,
Hmm.
when you started it, you were
Right.
able to set a background color and you didn't.
Right. Hmm. So if I had said that, then this warning will go away basically.
Yeah. And what is
Oh,
also important to know, automated testing will find about 30% to 35% of the problems you can have in an accessible website. Um, and
this is showing me the
sometimes,
warning again, even though
yeah.
I have a darker background. So there needs to be some work done. But if I had to like completely check this, I can just,
No, I see it now. I always thought it was in the cover block, but then it's just checking for the background color of the page.
yeah, it is actually checking the background color of the text itself. So if I choose that as a black, then it is the warning goes away, right? And some people
Mm.
they will actually choose maybe like a darker background or something, maybe like something like this. And this is a problem for which we talked
See,
about,
but
right?
because now the warning is not there, but it's not in focus. Oh, yes, it's in
It
focus
is
now. The
there.
warning
It
is
is
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So
There is something you can do. If you're in
yeah,
WordPress, we're living in the WordPress bubble, right? Because
right. So I think the
install,
idea, the main point here
yeah.
is that means choose the contrast carefully. Even
Mhm.
though I think there are some Chrome extensions which can tell you if this is a proper contrast or not, right?
I can give you something much better than that. Install the accessibility checker plugin from
In
Equalize
WordPress,
Digital. Yes,
okay.
this
So
plugin is available for free in in the WordPress repo. It's created by Equalize Digital, and
equalize.
they are actually also doing this for NASA.
Hmm, that's interesting. Amazing amount of reviews, 5 out of 5. So that's good. So how do I open that? So accessibility checker, and then do I go to a page?
You go to a page,
Okay, and then maybe go to
edit,
edit or okay,
edit,
and then
go down.
oh okay. So like Yoast for accessibility basically.
Yes, you could sort of say that. Um, so then it gives you errors. Now, um, of course, red is a very unhappy improper use of link. Okay, so it's giving you an improper use of link, and then you can click on the right,
View on page. Okay.
and it's
Oh
telling you,
nice.
oh,
Okay.
here, look.
Nice.
And
So it
then
is
it
basically,
told
yeah,
you, you clicked it
very
away,
nice.
but it tells you
Oh, sorry. Let me do
why
that
it
again.
is wrong,
Yep. So
and
an
it
improper use
explains
of
to
link appears if
you.
you have,
Yes.
okay. Hmm. So there is basically no link to it. So the href is empty, and that's why it is showing. So this is not a link. For us, it becomes very simple when we click and then it doesn't happen. Then we can. But for a lot of people, it will be very confusing, right? They will
It will
think
be.
this is a
Yes.
link, and they press enter, nothing happens. They will see that there is some. They will feel like there is something wrong with the browser or something else, right? It becomes a very confusing situation.
Yes, and the screen reader can't do anything with it.
Hmm. Right.
Then another tip, underline your links. And I know designers climb walls when we say that.
Yep.
But again, look at my website or that from the Alley Collective, for example.
Hmm.
Is it really that disturbing to you?
Okay. Is that the alico.org?
A11Y dash collective.
A11Y collective.
There
Okay.
you are.
Hmm. Let's look at that. So all the links have underlines.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't look means that it has to be
Is that
taken. Means
disturbing? It's not
no,
disturbing to me.
not at all. Where there are buttons, there are buttons, right? So use buttons
Yeah.
wherever. Hmm.
Also,
Right.
very important about buttons, people.
Hmm.
We have adapted a habit of making links look like a button.
Hmm.
But technically, the difference between a link and a button is that a link goes somewhere, it takes you
Hmm.
somewhere, and a button does something.
Right.
Okay.
It's like a CTA, right? You're doing some action.
hmm And
Hmm.
you can, like you do when you do SEO tests, for example, to keep it for the group who is not aware of accessibility yet, you do your SEO tests, you get your link lists.
Hmm.
Now, screen readers and screen reader users, which is screen readers are also used by people who have dyslexia, for example, who have a hard time to read, or
Right.
people who find it hard to read in general because of concentration problems. Um, they can actually generate a link list. Now, if you
Hmm.
by accident use a button element instead of styling something to look a link like to look like a button,
Hmm.
these links will not show up in the
Right.
linked list. And this is what happens when you say the role is button, for example. We're getting very technical here. And it's hard to interview me, because my brain is like a jumping bunny. It's going
I
everywhere.
think 1 hour is not even close to enough, right?
Maybe
uh,
one day we can just pick one element, because to go back to where we were before, about what was my big discovery and what made me happy about accessibility was discovering that each has its own discipline:
hmm.
design, content, development,
Hmm.
and each on their own suddenly do not look at a very big mountain anymore. But if you're trying to be the all in one, it's going to come at you like a tsunami.
So you
Right?
mean to say that design needs to take care of their own elements when it comes to accessibility, same with content, same with, right, all of that. And if all of
Exactly.
these departments know their means what they need to do in terms of accessible design and accessible content, etc., that makes the job much easier. But that needs to have that accessibility kind of mindset ingrained into the overall process.
Mhm.
And I think that is required by law, and that is also required or kind of expected when you're taking business decisions, because you are opening up your business to more and more people, right? And that, I think that makes both of that makes a lot of sense. And then there is humanity aspect of it, which hasn't rhymed with a lot of people so far. But the other two aspects, when combined together, I think there's a huge opportunity in the market for designers, developers, for their own business, for doing for others. So I was actually thinking the other day, if you want to stand apart in the crowd of all these like designers, freelancers, agencies, how do you do that? You offer these add-on, these services which not a lot of people know about. So I think it's
Yeah.
the right time to learn all of these. And Amika, where should a person go to start their journey? Is there something on your website, or there is other websites as well?
There is a lot to find about this on my website, but I would absolutely recommend to go to the Alley Collective, the one that we
Hmm.
just had before. Um, I'm saying this because, of course, I'm addressing the European market.
Hmm.
Um, there are other places, but I'm just so very fond of the Accessibility Collective because of their very heads on, straight approach. And they have a couple of free courses that you can try. So you can step in and you can hear and learn a lot of things already from those. And if you want to get certified for accessibility, because this is
Hmm.
what needs to happen,
Right, right. Hmm.
um, then their courses will give you points for that.
Nice. So you can actually show that in your resume, in your profile, anywhere, and then you little bit stand apart, and then you add additional value to your job
You
or to your
absolutely
business.
do. Yeah, you
Mhm.
absolutely do. And I mean, there are people working in accessible for 20, 30 years, that long,
Mhm.
absolutely that long.
Mhm.
Ever since the beginning of the days that the internet became public. Um, who will say, when you see those people and you don't see their certification, you might wonder, hey, maybe this person doesn't know what he's doing or she's doing
Hmm.
because he doesn't have this certification.
Right.
Don't ever assume that. If
Hmm.
you talk to accessibility specialists, find out how long they've been doing it, and
Hmm.
let them show you examples also when they are guiding you or showing you around. Okay. um, that's very important. Another thing that I'd like to touch on, for the future: 14 months from now, the European law sets in, um, which is really, really fast. People have to get moving. But it also means that there are going to be other people. We all know it, right? As soon as there's a buck to be made, people will try to pull stuff.
Hmm.
Be very aware who you work with and how you do that. Because now agencies are going to pop up and they're going to say, I will make your site accessible just like that.
Right.
Or I
Right.
can give you
Okay.
a plugin to make your site accessible just like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know,
Like with anything, right? With SEO, with speed, all of that, right? Because there is
mhm,
always two sides to the coin. Because there are people who
exactly.
can actually do it, and then there are people who claim for it.
Exactly, exactly. And
Hmm.
also there is no quick solution to an existing project. As I said before, technical testing, automatic testing, automated solutions can only solve about 30%
Hmm.
of all issues that you can have. And that sounds really scary, like, how am I going to solve the other 70%? It's really not that hard. And one of the things you really have to do is when you are remediating your website or you're creating a new website, for example, get users to test it. There are agencies that will do user testing for you, including accessibility testing. And yes, it is an investment. It costs you some, but it will
But
gain you
then,
so much more.
but then again, we come back to our case study where you invest some amount and then you get multiple folds of ROI, and that's what business is all about.
Yeah,
Um, I guess we means this will take a little bit. So this is just scratching the surface.
yeah,
We are planning to do an event called Anyone Can WordPress very soon.
nice.
There we would love to have you maybe do a workshop of half an hour or 45 minutes. I don't want to put you on the spot. You can tell me later also.
It depends
Uh,
on when it is because I'm racing around the world all year long. You know it, right?
Yep, yep. So definitely we can plan it. But I think our audience would love to know how to build an accessible website in a more involved, hands-on manner. So that will be a very good exercise. But in general, I think what we learned today is there is not a minority user who you shouldn't like. Should we care about them? That's an assumption. That's a wrong assumption. I think people should think about accessible design and development, not just because if there's only few people, there are like a lot of people who are doing it. It's required by law, your business will boom, all of that. So start learning by going to all these websites, the plugin, and go to Anamika website, and then you will have a lot of case studies to learn from. And she's always available for a quick chat and maybe a consultation if you require at any point. um, I don't think she requires any kind of introduction on that. And we have been in touch. I really admire her work,
Oh,
and
thank
she has
you.
been doing a lot of good work around this area. And we'll get to see her in WordCamp Europe as well, I think, Anamika.
Yes, I'm going to be at WordCamp Europe. I'm the sponsors team lead, and
Nice.
oh yeah, it's great to do this again every year in a year, every year. Um, I'll be there, and I'm online a lot. I am a lot on Twitter, and I know a lot of people are angry about Twitter. Oh, Twitter is horrible since this Elon whatever
Yeah, yeah.
bought it.
I think it's about how you see it, right? You want to use it as a medium of communication, and you do that, and this come out, right?
I'm
So,
like I have more reason than ever to be on Twitter to tell people about accessibility.
yep.
Yeah,
So, where can we find Shivanshi? If you are listening to that, can you please paste the handle for Anamika's Twitter account? Is that the only place you are accessible, or is that the like the right place to ping you?
And LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay.
And I do really appreciate it when people connect with me on LinkedIn to send me a personal message with that, because I get like 20 LinkedIn connection requests per day. And
Yeah, I
I
think the context makes a lot of sense, right? Means always. So
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, it's like if people don't send a personal message with that, it's like going to to a business meeting and then just throw your business card in someone's face and walk away and then expect like, oh, I'm going to be so happy you threw your business
no,
card in my
doesn't
face.
work that way. Yeah, I think it's better to give some context if you are doing something. If you need like a suggestion on something. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And you have been always putting out a lot of content about accessibility
Mhm.
online for free anyway. So it's just easier for people to get started and then go deep into that.
There are many of us out there,
Mhm.
and if you follow me and you see who I follow on Twitter, for example, you will find tons and tons of accessibility specialists, advocates, enthusiasts. There is a fantastic Slack channel about accessibility. If you would like me to send you an invite to that channel, let me know. There is a great group about accessibility on Facebook. Follow Amber and Christopher Hens from Equilize Digital.
I love them. Yep, yep. So
Yeah.
I will definitely ask you for about all those links to the Slack channel and the Facebook group, and we will include that in our post email after this discussion, and people will be able to explore all of that.
Mhm. Also, I will share a link with you about a page with resources that I usually share after a presentation at a meetup,
Mhm.
because that includes the video that
All
I
of that,
made
right? Mhm.
about how you can check for contrast issues and simulate color blindness, and
Oh,
because
nice.
we were
Mhm.
looking for that, and simulate vision loss in the browser by default. I created a video about that on YouTube, and it's on that page. So I will share that link with you. And I want to
Definitely.
thank you for having me. And I'm really happy that I got to know you. When was that? I think we got to talk to each other in the hallways, the
In the
digital
Atari.
hallways of the
Yep,
Page
yep.
Builder Summit. That is,
Mhm.
again, I think happening in May, right?
Right, right, right. So Page Builder Summit is coming up. Guys, check it out. It's one of the coolest one. A lot of different workshops and talks to learn from. So yeah, again, thanks Anamika for tuning in today. I know it's very early for you. Appreciate
30 in the
I
morning it
appreciate
was,
your
yeah.
time.
Thank you
I,
so much,
yeah.
Vikas.
Thank you, Anamika, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you change your mindset. I hope you change your mindset into more accessibility driven designs and development, and start educating yourself, your team around it. I think there is a huge opportunity which is coming up for the next 5, 10, 15 years, where people will be looking to transform their website into more accessible design. And it's from a business standpoint, it's a great opportunity. So thanks,
Absolutely.
everybody. Thanks, Jayesh, Vaishnavi, Sergio, everybody for joining in. Take care.